So what I'm going to do now is cross line with the first piece of paper, and I'm going to start with the paper that goes from the line we've marked up to the ceiling. Do remember, don't take it for granted the ceiling is level, so don't come down from the ceiling, go up to it. I'll need a piece of access equipment for this. So like with any piece of access equipment, inspect it before use. So I've done this, I've given it a visual and manual inspection. Everything is as it should be. So up I go. Take hold of the first piece of paper. Right. Just take hold. Peel the first fold open. And remember, we have allowed a bit to go around the corner. So just go around the corner slightly, up to the ceiling edge. Now you can see the pencil line here. So I just need to pull this down, and my top hand is just touching the ceiling edge here. I do this all the time. That way I know the paper is about level. If my hand is down here, you can see straight away the paper is pulled away from the wall. Same if I'm trying to go too high. So if you just keep a small finger just touching the ceiling edge, that will help to keep you level. All right. Just put the fingernails into the ceiling there. Undo the other fold. Right. And smooth out the paper using your sweep brush or spatula. My preferred option is the sweep brush. So I go from the centre out to the edges. I can push up into the ceiling edge, removing any air bubbles. The spatula works as well. This really is on smooth paper a personal choice. And as you can see, that does just as well. I've introduced an air bubble behind the paper just to show you why it is necessary to go from the centre of the paper right out to the edges. Because you could spend all day going one way and the other, just pushing the air bubble around the paper. And this is if you're cross-lining, vertical drop, the air bubble is there. So whichever direction you've hung the paper, centre right out to the edges, and that gets rid of the air bubble. Now we've got the paper nice and smooth, we can trim off the excess here along the ceiling line and then fold around the edges. A couple of ways you can do this. Right. You can mark with a pencil and then pull the paper away and cut along the pencil line. And as you can see, we get a nice cut up to the ceiling. Or another way is to just score with the back end of the shears, pull the paper away, and you can then cut along the crease that you have just formed with the back of the shears. This is probably my preferred option for site work just because it's faster. I've got the shears in my hand. I don't have to use any other piece of equipment. Another method is to use the craft knife and the caulking tool. You put the caulking tool tight against the wall or whatever you've papered, right, and then apply just enough pressure up to the ceiling, bearing in mind you don't want to cut big holes in the ceiling. Along you go, and bingo. So 3 ways there of just trimming into a ceiling. That's the wall to ceiling edge. It could be down at the bottom of the wall onto the skirting, or even vertically into a door architrave or door frame. So that is how you would trim the paper. And then the last thing I need to do, little diagonal, fold the paper around the corner. We can't go much further than this, all right? In fact, it's probably a little too far. So again, I'm just going to form a crease, pull the paper away. I'm not trimming along the crease, so I'm just using that as a guide because I do want the paper to go around the wall because we need to overlap. We'll see that in a minute. So pushing from the edge of the corner around, that then lays flat. And I'll repeat the process at the other end of the chimney breast. Just using my crease as a guide. And fold the paper around the wall, ensuring you get a good crease in the paper, because that will be the edge of the wall you see. Lining paper is sometimes used as a base for painting on. It's not necessarily always papered over, so do make sure you get a nice corner. Having got the first piece of paper on the wall, using the pencil line we put across the wall using the spirit level, and then went from that to the ceiling, we can now use this as our line. There's no need to mark a new line for every piece of paper. Your first line is it, and now we use the bottom of this paper as our level and undo the first roll, or sorry, the first fold of the next piece of paper. Right, and again, get the paper matched up. And again, if you look at my right hand that's holding the paper, again, I've found the bottom of the existing piece of paper and I'm holding it about level and tight to the wall. Again, as we showed you earlier, if I'm up or I'm down, I'm pulling the paper away from the wall. So just have your supporting hand touching the wall, or near as damn it. Okay, and slide the paper into position. Quick smooth out. This is why a decorator's apron or set of overalls is brilliant, because of the big pocket. You get loads of bits in there. Undo the next. Get the joint sorted, support the paper. And then just gently ease the paper into place. Don't push it around too much. Right? The paper is wet and it will stretch, which means if you overstretch the paper, you then have to start stretching the piece of paper below it and then the piece of paper below that. So once your air bubbles are out, fold the paper around the corners, as we showed you last time, get a sharp crease going, push that round. We've got a bit we need to trim here, so this time just using the palm of my hand, I form the crease. I then have that as a guide. Remember, I'm not cutting along the crease, just parallel with it, so I can go around the corner 10 to 20 millimeters. All right, we'll be fine. The offcuts are going straight into a small bin around the corner. That way they don't end up all over the floor. All right. Slips, trips and falls are one of the biggest causes of accidents in construction, and wet wallpaper is very slippery, so keep it tidy. Once I've gone around the corner, again just a quick once over to make sure there's no air bubbles left. And there we have cross lining, trimmed at the top with a nice neat butt joint and air bubble free, with enough around the corners to overlap when we do that in a few videos time. So that is introduction to cross lining.